rainbow people. I don't know what rainbow people means to you. I don't know what patriotic people means to you. But I welcome you into this space in the room and on Zoom as we at Eden do something kind of unique and experimental today. Part of what's been on our heart for recent months is this concept of embodying sanctuary in everything we do, embodying sanctuary for a new day. And that puts us in the mood, of course, of wondering, of aspiring, leaning into what kind of people do we want to be. Well, David Angel and I, as we hatched up this idea here, inspired by Pride Month, inspired by the celebrations of Independence Day, think that part of what is true of the people, the kind of people we want to be, rainbow people and patriotic people, is that we just simply want to be honest. We want to be honest and gather together to share stories, to sing, to create letters, art, etc., in this very challenging historic time. A time where we can both celebrate in our land, in the USA, celebrate such progress on understanding, inclusion, and justice for all, and at the same time feel every day the tensions, the birth pangs, as we understand that those ideals of inclusion and justice for all, including the LGBT community, including full equality for women, including racial equality at every measure. We understand that what those ideals mean and the strategies of getting there is not a consensus matter, and that we have much division, and many of us fear regression on those advances. And so, it would be easy in this day, because everyone is doing it, to be caught up in the partisan bantering. That's not what we imagine by sanctuary. It would be easy to be caught up into the collectivism of, well, our kind of people believe this. We at Eden believe this. We at Eden believe that. We're trying to thread a different needle here today and every day, which is to create a space that is safe enough for us to be on our journeys of understanding, our journeys of courage to share vulnerably about our life and our vulnerabilities that perhaps others don't know, our journey to become more courageous advocates and allies on these issues. And so for us to gather in the sanctuary is not to make a political statement exactly here, inspired by Pride Month and Independence Day. For us to gather here and then break for conversation and food is much more like an assembly in the early pages of the New Testament. That is, people caught up in the creative and good and healing and justice work of God, and coming into frictions with one another, trying to sort out our voice, our story, our own yearnings. And so it's much more, these gatherings that we host, us yearning, leaning into a safe space for individuals to sift out and sort out what we think, what we feel, what we've observed, what we've experienced, and to trust that in the sharing of that in safe and respectful ways, the greatest wisdom, the greatest unity can emerge. My mind calls to mind two specific little memories I'd like to seed here before we welcome our musician and begin some singing. Sometime in the 2000s, mid first decade of the 2000s, in my previous church, Grace Baptist, we had a Sunday worship service that was near the 4th of July. And the worship planners and I had this vision of just this open sharing experience where people said things, brought readings, brought music, kind of a collage experience. But we invited people to do that in a spirit of love and lament. That is appreciation, commitment, devotion, and the honesty of sadness, worry, anger that our biblical tradition gives us in modeling lament. The memory of that experience has stayed with me all these years. There's the power of doing the both and, expressing love, expressing duty, expressing ideals, and being able to talk about how and where we fall short. And while we think that's really lacking in today's world and our collective journey. So maybe that's some of what we'll do today. We'll see what those gathered have on their heart. And then secondly and lastly, I would just want to speak to the inspiration that has been for so many. The words offered in March of 2008, when the presidential candidate Barack Obama, actually newly elected President Barack Obama, gave this speech about, no, it was before the election. It was still during the campaign, March of 2008. There was all this controversy about Dr. Jeremiah Wright and racial matters and racial tensions and the theology and prophetic work of the black church. And President Obama, to be, offered this speech where he talked about how we're on a journey as a country, ever leaning into being a more perfect union. That just touched me, and I think maybe that's a good frame with which to end this little introduction, to say we all just want to be a part of God's great project in America, and to be parts of solutions, not problems. To be those beings, those spiritual citizens who are strong enough and pure-hearted enough to repent and to change where we need to do so. With that said, I want to just offer a word of thanks to our pianist for today, Floyd Ruger. Our colleague Carlos Gutierrez joins us. We thank you for the people here in the sanctuary present and ready to sing. And we're going to begin now a program of song. The packets here in the sanctuary include a number of patriotic songs that we'll move into today in the order that they are printed. Thank you, and God bless. Floyd, we begin with America the Beautiful. We've invited those who are with us in the room and on Zoom to be mindful of whether there might be a reading, a song on their heart as we begin to open it up for open mic a little bit later on, and so watch for that transition. I would want to just intersperse here in our singing this reading, this poem from Maya Angelou. Perhaps you know it. It's called America, Maya Angelou. The gold of her promise has never been mined. Her borders of justice not clearly defined. Her crops of abundance, the fruit and the grain, have not fed the hungry, nor eased that deep pain. Her proud declarations are leaves on the wind. Her southern exposure, Black Death did befriend. Discover this country, dead centuries cry. Erect noble tablets where none can decry. She kills her bright future and rapes for a soul, then traps her children with legends untrue. I beg you, discover this country, America. We continue now in a moment of silent reflection, and in a few moments we'll transition to This Land is Your Land. The printed program doesn't indicate this, but I don't mind humbly saying that there are some fresh verses added to this version, which I wrote a few years ago. And I just want to tell the story of writing those additional verses. It was because a group of friends, ecumenical pastors here in the neighborhood, were beginning to plan a joint Thanksgiving service, and we planned to use this familiar song, This Land is Your Land. As our conversation unfolded, we heard the vulnerable, honest testimony of our sister, Pastor Noemi, who spoke for her people and many other peoples in lifting up this truth. That song, if sung without recognition of the pain it might cause, the distress it might cause, in bringing up memories of past and present injustice for those indigenous people who were displaced, harmed, murdered by those settlers who thought this land, my land to be taken. That if we sing it without an awareness, just an intentionality about how the justice journey is still unfolding, that we could even do harm by repeating the ideas of simplicity and superficial sentimentality about the land. And so I was so touched and convicted by that conversation that I wrote the extra words, lyrics that you see there that are perhaps unfamiliar to you. Let us sing now, This Land is Your Land, and then in the song packet, This is My Song. Now we turn to This Is My Song, words that many of us treasure as they invite our hearts and our minds to be uplifted from the circle of care most intimate to us. Indeed, it reminds me of the golden rule as uplifted in Islam. One is not a believer who does not want for others what they want for themselves. Let us sing now, This Is My Song, to the familiar tune of Finlandia. Do want to break here for an opportunity for spoken word. If there is anything on anyone's mind, I'd invite you to come to the lectern if you are so led. We're going to have an extended time of conversation over our meal shortly, and David will lead us in some dialogue and storying about what it feels like to be alive in this day, in this moment, as committed citizens. In the wake of such tension and division. And so maybe you'll have things on your heart to share as we gather for the meal. But I'm aware as I sing these songs, and maybe particularly the ones that don't have fresh words or intentional empathic words lifting our gaze up to other arenas, right? That sometimes I can wince when I sing these songs, as much as I love them, where I feel the gap, where I feel us not yet living in to the full perfect union. And so if there's anything that would be on anyone's heart today that you'd like to share with the family receiving the recording of this section, I would open the mic to you. Thank you. David?
Yeah, so I think I just want to take a moment to recognize that a lot of the times I talk a lot about talking, but sometimes there are things that I feel like we can't exactly say through words sometimes, or it just fails to express the breadth and the depth and the sincerity of what we need to say. And so I think that was one of the reasons why I really appreciate being able to have a storytelling through music and other forms of expression, because I think sometimes it's easier to be honest or sincere when we have a chance to use a different mode of saying what we want to say. And so as I think about what it means to be celebrating the 4th of July, celebrating our country, celebrating Pride, celebrating ourselves, our community, and our friendships with one another, I just really like to take the idea that, sometimes it helps us stop talking, which I'm going to do in a moment, and just take a chance to sing or celebrate, draw, use art, express those things in other ways. And so I'm just happy we had a chance to do this. So thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you for your leadership and contributions to those medium. Anyone else want to say a word about the songs we've sung so far? Anything else on your mind? This will not be your last opportunity, but please do. Yeah, sure. If you mind if I come a little bit closer so that you can be on the mic.
Just on my mind.
Thank you, Linda.
On my mind is those words in the last song we sang about other lands have beautiful things too. I guess I never really, of course I thought of that. I've been in other countries many times and wonder sometimes what it would be like to really live here. I was in Austria and Switzerland and France and South America, and just the people are so beautiful. And I guess I was thinking about the words lived experience, and that's all we can go by. That's all we can really go by. That's all we individually have is our own lived experience. So I think a lot of the conflict and the tensions that we're feeling today have to do with we all have very different lived experiences, and a lot of us don't have any patience or consideration of other people's lived experiences. And if we could learn how to be more open and listen better and consider other people's lived experiences, I think that would make the world a better place for sure. And that's what I was thinking. So, yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. There's a spiritual dimension to that. There's a citizen dimension to that, which is, how do I regard other people and their needs if they happen to fall out of my lived experience? And what is the citizen's duty in deference and respect and generosity to those matters outside their experience? Does anyone else have anything to add at this moment? All right, I can tell that you heard the pizza arriving, and it looks really wonderful. And so we'll hold some additional sharing for that time. Let's conclude then in our last set of singing this trio, Mine Eyes Have Seen the Glory, and then I would invite you, if you're led, to go ahead and stand for the last two, the Star-Spangled Banner first, and God Bless America. We'll be doing God Bless America without printed sheet music, but Floyd's got our back. And so just sing away. Let's go ahead now with this closing set. Thank you, Floyd. Thank you. You may be seated. Our very final selection today would be a beautiful song called De Colores. And our friends Carlos is here, Pastor Noemi is here. Do you want to participate in this today? We've got the printed sheet music for us. So let's enjoy this as you settle in together. Oh, we have an extra friend. Please, please. Why not? We've got our four-legged patriot right here today. Very good. And you have the lyrics also. Very good. Maybe share there with that sheet music. Very good. Thank you for closing us with this selection.
So this next song, De Colores, is an old Mexican folk song. And while it has been around for centuries, since the 16th century, it is a song that is very inclusive towards people of all faiths, people of all ethnic backgrounds, people of all genders, and people of all abilities, and people of all colors. De Colores.
De colores en los campos en la primavera. De colores son los pajaritos que vienen de fuera. De colores es el arco iris que vemos lucir. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores y en muchos colores me gustan a mí.
Canta el gallo.
Yeah, that's the first one.
And the song goes on and on and on. Because there's always more verses. Yeah.
De colores de los colores, se visten los campos en la primavera. In colors and colors, the fields are dressed in the spring. De colores son los pajaritos que vienen de fuera. And colors are the little birds that come from outside. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. And that is why I love the great love of many colors.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I just want to offer a word of affirmation for the food we're about to partake in. Let us be mindful of those who created it, delivered it, made it, delivered it for us today. And may this beautiful closing song remind us of our duties to delight in creation, understand creation, and allow ourselves to become the creators who are good stewards of all God's creation. Blessed be.